In the closing weeks of this campaign, two things are incredibly true about Donald Trump. The first is that he is exhausted. He is too tired, too out of it, and too unfit to sit down for an interview, to host a town hall, to even debate, as we know he is so scared of Kamala Harris. And the second thing that is true about Donald Trump is everything he says, all of the words coming out of his unhinged mouth, always backfire on him. No matter what Donald Trump does, even if he's sitting down for an interview with a Fox host, holding his hand and trying to guide him through a softball interview, Donald Trump still finds a way to humiliate himself. And those two things, those two truths about Donald Trump came together today in the most humiliating and devastating way for his campaign, because a newly leaked call that Donald Trump was on, talking about a certain type of person unwilling to debate, is absolutely humiliating him and wrecking his campaign. And we are going to get into that leaked audio in just a bit. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. It really goes a long way towards building this amazing community we're growing on this channel, and it really means the world to me. Now, like I said, Donald Trump completely unwilling to debate or do interviews, and Kamala Harris called him out for that. So before we get into the leaked audio, let's check out what she had to say.
In addition, I've been hearing reports that his team, at least, is saying he's suffering from exhaustion. And that's apparently the excuse for why he's not doing interviews. And, of course, he's not doing the CNN town hall. He refuses to do another debate. And, look, being president of the United States is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world. And so we really do need to ask if he's exhausted being on the campaign trail. Is he fit to do the job? And I think that's a question that is an open-ended question that he needs to answer.
I love that Kamala Harris is making this a closing issue of her campaign and finally getting the mainstream media to talk about how unfit Donald Trump is. He is too tired and too out of it to even be a candidate for president. How could he possibly do the job? And Kamala Harris is doing such a great job tying this into her broader message about how Donald Trump is only in this for himself and does not care about you, because he is completely unwilling to tell the American people about his failed presidency and try to defend it, to talk to them about his agenda in a debate. No, he is just too scared. It's the reason why he's running away at every possible turn, canceling interviews left and right, and it's the reason why all his stooges are trying to defend him, especially at Fox. And one of their hosts said something which is clearly backfiring with this newly leaked audio of Donald Trump. So before we get into that, let's hear from Fox and their weak defense of Donald Trump.
Several more who could be persuaded to like him. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, has made it quite clear that she is only interested in representing the people who coronated her, the top Democratic elite.
Leslie.
Did you say that with a straight face? I mean, she was just on this network with 7.1 million viewers, 4 million more than the former president.
For the first time.
He has canceled 6 events.
Took her 2 months.
He has canceled 6 events. And in addition
All right,
to
I
that,
have to step in there. I have
night,
to. If you're talking about a rally, for instance, in Wisconsin, there are threats against his life. I was with him, my team, 4 hours before he was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. We were at Mar-a-Lago for a sit-down interview. There are reasons why they have to sometimes. I don't know all the list, but when it comes to a rally, there's a very good reason why they would have to do that.
Under no circumstance, and this has not even been remotely reported, has Donald Trump had to cancel a debate with Kamala Harris or an interview with 60 Minutes or CNBC because of safety. That's not the case. Donald Trump isn't debating Kamala Harris because he is scared. If the safety he's worrying about is the safety of his ego, maybe there's a little bit of truth to that, but he's not in harm because he sits down with an interview with 60 Minutes. That's an absolutely absurd defense of Donald Trump, almost as bad as the defense he tried to put up when asked about why he just won't sit down for an interview. And before we get into this call, I think we got to look at Donald Trump for a bit of context.
How do you think this affects the border? Kamala Harris said she thinks you're exhausted. That's why you're canceling events. Are you exhausted?
What event did I cancel? I haven't canceled. She doesn't go to any events. She's a loser. She doesn't go to any events. She didn't even show up for the Catholics last night at the hotel. It was insulting. All they are is sound bites. So today I was at Fox and Friends at 7 in the morning. I then went to 2 different other appearances. I then made about 15 phone calls. I've gone 48 days now without arrest, and I've got that loser who doesn't have the energy of a rabbit. Let me tell you something. She should have been last night with the Catholics. So all they do is put out sound bites. Tell me when you've seen me take even a little bit of a risk. Not only am I'm not even tired. I'm really exhilarated. You know why? We're killing her in the polls because the American people don't want her. She didn't pass her bar exam. She's not a smart person. She's not a person that should represent our country. So I just want to let you know that very clearly. Go ahead.
Clearly just complete projection from Donald Trump there, saying that it's Kamala Harris is the one. She's tired. He's not. She's not smart. Of course, he is such a stable genius, as he said earlier today, rambling in an interview with Fox and Friends that went pretty poorly. But no, Donald, that's not the case. You are just too scared to sit down to do an interview. And more than anything, he is terrified of debating Kamala Harris again. It's why he continues to run away from that. But it's pretty funny that he is, considering someone named Donald Trump had certain thoughts about those who are too scared to interview and what that means about how they'd act as president. This call, this audio, recently leaked. It is so damning to Trump. Let's take a look.
Kay Fout tonight unearthing an interview where Donald Trump uses those words, taking on candidates who won't debate, openly mocking them, saying they don't have courage. Listen.
And, you know, some of them don't have the courage to do it. I don't want to say who, but there are a couple
we know who they are.
I mean, there are a couple of them that called me and told me, Donald, I'm just too nervous to do it. And I'm saying to myself, here's a guy that's supposed to negotiate, or a person that's supposed to negotiate against China. These guys come out of the womb, they never cry. You know, they're not even crying, and we have guys that are afraid to go into a debate.
You said it yourself, Donald. Too scared to go up against Kamala Harris, too scared to go up against Leslie Stahl. How could you possibly battle with Putin? How could you possibly battle with China? How could you possibly have any strength on the world stage as a leader if you're afraid to debate? You are a coward. You admitted it yourself. You made the assessment of the type of individual you are now. Terrified and running away. And Donald Trump is always trying to project strength in his campaign, pretending he's this big, tough guy. And Donald Trump just shattered that image of himself with his own words. Absolutely devastating. And it's the reason why Kamala Harris continues to mock him for it, as she did in this clip right here.
And check this out. His own campaign team recently said it is because of exhaustion. Well, if you are exhausted on the campaign trail, it raises real questions about whether you are fit for the toughest job in the world. Come on. Come on.
I love this closing message. He is unfit. He is unwilling to debate. He's tired. He's out of it. He's out of control. He's dangerous. He's more deranged than ever. It's not just Democrats saying it. It's not even just former Trump officials saying it. As we just saw in that leaked audio, it's Donald Trump saying it. If you are too afraid to debate, you are too afraid to be president. Donald Trump is out of his mind. He knows it. He knows his words are backfiring. Take a look at what he had to say on Fox and Friends this morning. It's clear the reason why he's scared to open his mouth.
And Trump, I'm Daniel, and I'm 10, and I'm from Tennessee. What was your favorite president when you were little?
Who was your favorite president when you were little?
So I liked Ronald Reagan. I thought he was... Look, I didn't love his trade policy. I'm a very good trade. I've made some great trade deals for us, the USMCA. That wasn't his strength, but he had a great dignity about him. Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. You could say, there's our president, more than any others, really any of the others. Great presidents, well, Lincoln was probably a great president, although I've always said, why wasn't that settled? You know, I'm a guy that, it doesn't make sense. We had a civil war.
Well, half the country left before he got there.
Yeah.
Trump can't even handle a question from a 10-year-old about who his favorite president is without making himself look like a fool. Does Donald Trump understand what the Civil War was? What happened? What started it? Maybe instead of doing a debate, we should just quiz Donald Trump on basic history and civics, and that will tell us all we need to know about his cognitive state, which, of course, he has been trying to defend in the most indefensible and really deranged way lately. And we saw that when he was asked about why he won't release his health records, and the weird attack, or really just trying to pivot, that he made calling out Kamala Harris for some reason, who has released her medical records. But let's take a look at that.
Release your health records.
Yeah. My health records, I've done 5 exams over the last 4 years. You've got them all. Obviously, I'm in the middle of a very big and very contentious fight. We're leading. I've given my health exams. I've also done cognitive tests twice, and I've aced them, meaning a perfect score. I want to see her do a cognitive test because she couldn't ace because she wasn't born smart. All right, thank you, everybody.
He is running so scared. He is projecting all of his insecurities on Kamala Harris, and he continues to go back to this attack that she wasn't born smart or she has a low IQ. It's just gross to hear. And while I don't like it, because it's just, it's so disrespectful and sad to see, Kamala Harris doesn't care. She's unbothered by Donald Trump. She always has been. But who does care is soft Republicans, independent voters who are incredibly turned off by this language from Donald Trump. So I say, continue to say it. Doesn't bother Kamala Harris. She doesn't care. You're only hurting yourself, as you always do whenever you open your mouth. So run free, ramble away. Please hurt yourself more with the way you speak. We're going to let you do it, and we're going to call it out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.